Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics, Non-Classics. This is episode number 491 and Doubleshot number 404. Yes, I'm recording this on Thanksgiving. Yes, it's the evening. I've already ate my Thanksgiving meal. So yeah, let's do some reviews, shall we? This one we got two DC trades. One, of course, is a Batman trade. The other, of course, is a Flash trade. You'll find what the Flash trade is in a minute. First up, it's Batman Shadow the Bat, Volume 2, where it collects issues 13 to 23 of the series, and the first annual of the series. Yep. With all the issues written by Alan Grant. Yep. He writes the issue 82. And this is the second volume of the series. This is a recent release. I'd say within just a few months ago. Now, the artwork in here is done by a bunch of really good artists. Brett Bevos, Vince Garrio, Norm Breyfogle. He's been a recurring artist who's worked with Alan Grant over the years. Steve Jor, Steve Mitchell, Mike Manny, Dick Giordano, Joe Stanton, and Joe Varnita. With artwork by Brian Selfreeze. Yep. Excuse me. Now, in this book, there are many different stories. Like, there's a couple of these stories in here that are tie-ins to the Nightfall saga. Yep, there's a three-parter which features Bruce Wayne, which up until recently was never collected before in trade. Nope, it was constantly skipped over. But I've heard in the Omnibus edition for Nightfall, they're putting issues 21 and 23 in there. And let's see, I believe they also collected issues of the Crusade. Yes, there's also issues of the Crusade. There are 3 issues of that in here, and let's see. Yeah, mostly put. Let's see, 3, 5, 6. About 9 issues in this trade are stuff that deals with Nightfall. Yeah, like there's a 3-parter in here, 3 issues in here that deals with the Azrael Batman, basically. And just recently, they brought back his suit. Yep. Let me show off his suit here. It's a really neat costume. It's the, yeah, they actually brought this back in a recent storyline. It was the, one of the more recent storylines. I think it was the League of Shadows storyline. They actually, where in story, Luke Fox designed this very costume in story. I don't know who designed this costume because the original costume was designed by Joe Quesada. I heard that he was going to do this costume, but he got removed. He basically was removed. He was removed from that, let's say, that position of designing a new costume, due to the fact he did an interview without permission. This is why I've heard from the Kevin Smith podcast. Yep, really good villains in here. They even have popular recurring villain to. We also have the Scarecrow. Yeah, and the Scarecrow story in here, which is called God of Fear, it's a 4-part. It's actually a connection to his debut appearance. We actually kill somebody in his debut appearance. He actually shot a book collector, and the kid who's in here is actually the guy's son. As far as I can tell, there's nothing that says, yeah, he wants to kill him, but yeah, there's that. Yeah, there's stuff with Anarchy. There's the anime you saw about the character Joe Public. Yeah, he's a interesting character. But the issues in here are just really, really good. Batman during the 3-parter, well, Bruce Wayne basically, when he's not being Batman, he goes to the UK, poses as let's say one of the knights per se, interrupts a guy who was basically trying to kill a guy who accidentally interrupted an actual hunt. And apparently it's legal in the UK for hunters to kill people who interrupt their hunt. I'm like, that is still murder. Okay, you're hunting other creatures, fine. But trying to kill a guy who interrupts your hunt is still murder. I'm not really sure how the laws work in UK, but last time I checked, here, that's basically first-degree murder right there. The guy had clear motive to kill him, and looking up Bruce Wayne's alias basically stopped him. Also, British superhero The Hood shows up in here as well. The Hood also made a recent appearance in Grant Morrison's Batman Inc. series. Awesome series. I highly recommend it. And I also recommend checking out if you can find on my YouTube channel. Type in the search bar for my YouTube channel. Type in Batman Inc. and basically it'll give all three trades. All three trades of the review of it, where I reviewed the first trade, which collects the entire first volume of this series. The second volume is collected in 2 trades for some strange reason. Yeah, I don't know why. But let's see. Yeah, there's one story about alien parasite, which I thought was a little bizarre. Yeah, but Alan Grant does weird stories in here. That's just the way he is. Yep, standalone stories, but mostly put. I get kind of the reason why. Now, I thought maybe that they were going to end this one with issue 24. No, they ended with 23 because that's the conclusion of a 3-parter. That is just, well, makes sense. I think the next trade, which I don't know when it's going to come out. Let me take a look here. When the next volume is going to come out. Let's see here. I heard there is going to be a volume 3 of this. Let's see. When is volume 3 coming out? Let's see. There we go. Volume 3 comes out. Let's see. It comes out. Wow, in 2 months. Yeah. And this book was only released just this past January, so I don't know why DC's taking a whole year to release these trades, but I'm kind of glad the fact they released trades, but it seems like they're releasing these trades very irregular basis, and, yeah, it's just so bizarre. But I'm kind of glad that DC is finally doing this, because this is something I had hoped they had been doing for a long time, but they finally did it. Yep. All the stories in here are good. I'll give this a 9 out of 10. It's really good. Next up is The Flash by Mark Waid, Book 2. Collecting Flash, Volume 2 issues 69 to 79, Flash Annual number 6, Justice League Quarterly number 10, and Green Lantern Volume 3, issues 30, 31, and 40. Yep. Yeah, and when the thing starts out, it starts out with a 4-parter. Guerrilla Warfare. And deals with stuff also in the Justice League Europe series, which is kind of basically at this point, this is, I think, during, yeah, this is just after this is during the second era of the JLI, when Gerald Jones took over as the writer of the book. So they had some loose tie-ins there, and plus Gerald Jones basically was writing Green Lantern at this point, though just by sheer coincidence. The final issue here, issue 40, 7 issues later, is his final issue in the series. Probably because he wanted nothing to do with Emerald Twilight. That's my guess. Yeah. All the stories in here are really good. And the thing with the first 2 issues in here, they just take place concurrently with each other. Yeah, 30 and 69 just take place concurrently with each other. And 30 and 31 and 70 just continues the story. The story is just Wally West and Hal Jordan team up to take on Gorilla Grodd and Hector Hammond. Here's something really interesting what they did with this crossover. In the first part, they had Hector Hammond. They had Gorilla Grodd take on They had to take on Hal Jordan, and then in part 2, they had Hector Hammond take on the Flash, which is interesting. They could have swapped villains. This was an interesting premise they did at this point, and they did do one other crossover after this one, but yeah. But here's kind of the weird thing about cross between Flash and Green Lantern. This happened also one other time. This was a crossover between Green Lantern, Flash, and Green Arrow. Though in the case of that one, that was I think it was the 3rd crossover they had between Green Lantern and Green Arrow at that point. But in the case of Flash, also the 3rd crossover. It's not in here, but it's probably going to be in a future trade. And basically, there's also one point where they imply that Barry Allen comes back. Nope, it's not Barry Allen. I know I'm spoiling this, but the story's in here over 20 years old, so whatever. So it turns out that the guy posing as Barry Allen is Eobard Thawne. Excuse me, the original Reverse Flash, who makes his first post-crisis appearance. And they still keep in here that Iris West is still dead, somehow. Apparently, Wally doesn't know Iris is actually alive and actually in the future. He doesn't know that yet. Basically what happened, though, in pre-crisis, Reverse Flash killed Iris West, and he was going to kill another woman, a woman that Barry was going to marry, but I think the wedding was called off last minute due to the fact that Reverse Flash was going to kill her. And then, of course, Barry killed Eobard Thawne in self-defense. He killed him by snapping his neck. Yeah, that is how he killed him. Yeah, and that takes the last few issues in here. There's a nice Christmas issue. Linda and Wally get their relationship off the ground. It takes a little while, but yeah. Some people are wondering, why am I starting with book 2 instead of book 1? Simple. Well, this is the one the library had. And yes, this does happen. Basically, where they had the fake Barry team up with Wally and Jade. Yeah, Jade's a recurring character throughout this whole Flash series. Yeah, he pops up a good chunk of time. As far as I know, in the current continuity, Jay has briefly met Barry. Yeah, he's interacted with Barry once, and that was during the Button crossover. But Wally has, as far as I know, in this continuity, I think that, because we have pre-Flash and Wally, but as for the one who's black, yeah, he never interacted with Jay. But also Max Mercury shows up in here, which is really interesting. Yeah, Max Mercury shows up in here. But yeah, Waid does a fantastic job with these stories. I think that there's probably about a few more books coming out for his particular run, because he had one of the longest runs on a Flash title. Yeah, because my guess is DC must adopt this new policy or basically with this new volume, we have the writer not skip issues like they did before. Yeah, DC had this problem for years where they had this thing where they had writers do every other issue, who was of course a regular writer, and had another writer come in. The only books I can think of basically had a consistent writer for a good period of time who actually more than 1 or 2 issues in a row. Justice League America did this frequently whenever Jerry Conway was a writer of the book. Let's see, what else? I know Batman didn't have it. Batman didn't have it until the 1980s. Superman was kind of the same way. Wonder Woman got hers finally in the 70s. Yeah, basically the 70s is kind of the period of time when they finally started doing the thing where we have a creative team and they do more than 1 or 2 issues in a row. Yeah, and with this particular, it's consistent. And it's great the fact that DC did this, because Mark Waid is a fantastic writer. I know my friend Tivia is a huge fan of this particular run, and of course this whole 247 issue series. He's a huge fan of it. I don't know if he has this trade or not. Tivia, if you don't have this trade, get it. This is really good. It's expensive. It's like $35, but you can either purchase it or get it from the library. I got it from the library. But yeah, I do recommend this for my friend Tivia, because he loves Wally. Alright? I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. It's purely amazing. Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is episode 492 and Doubleshot number 405. And it's definitely going to be 2 Batman trades. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.